"Dinner's ready," exclaimed my friend's mother as she entered the room without knocking. "What's that?" she asked, pointing to the jewel laying on her daughter's bed. My friend quickly responded with, "It's a Bluetooth flash drive." Truthfully, it was not a Bluetooth flash drive. It was her daughter's jewel, an e-cigarette smoking device. My friend's mother was unaware her daughter just finished vaping minutes before she entered the room. Trusting her daughter's words and not recognizing the device, she soon left the room without any further questions. As a loyal friend, I had two options. I could first tell her mother the truth and probably lose one of my closest friends, or second, I could say nothing, try and help my friend quit on her own, and choose not to follow in her poor actions. Every time I have been confronted with this option, I've selected the second choice. Not because it's the better one, but because I've experienced the first one to be more harmful. The one time I did expose my friend's lies, her parents did not help her, but rather drove her out of the house. Subsequently, she did not graduate from high school. She's currently working 2 jobs, living with her boyfriend and his family, and attending parties every week, where she gets drunk and high and can't remember the events of the previous night the next morning. Since that day, I have regretted my decision in informing her parents of her choices and wondered if I made the right one. This incident happened almost 4 years ago, and soon after I realized my childhood mindsets of the dangers of drinking and smoking was not common to everyone my age. As a child, I could be described in one word: protected. I grew up learning about the harmful effects of drugs, nicotine, and alcohol, but it all seemed like a myth, a taboo to teens, and a privilege set aside for adults. New smoking technology is designed to mislead and be deceptive. During my years in high school, I've witnessed friendships, families, and romantic relationships break apart because of the lies that were told and the distrust that developed due to these adult vices. Parents, I'm asking you to please listen to me for these next 20 minutes. Whether you have dealt with this challenge or not, please listen. Once I am done, I will challenge each of you to personally start this conversation with your child, because I know through personal experience, the more your child is educated on this topic, the better decision-making they will have in the future. When tobacco was discovered, it was not intended to be used for recreation like it is today. As early as 1 BC, the American Indians began using tobacco in many different ways, such as religious or medicinal purposes. Tobacco was believed to be the cure of all and was used for dressing wounds as well as a painkiller. Also, chewing tobacco was believed to relieve the pain of toothaches. In the late 1400s, Christopher Columbus was offered chewing tobacco by the American Indians, and his sailors soon took the plant back to Europe. In the following years, tobacco became popular all around Europe for its healing properties. Soon, it was so popular it was often used as currency. Over the years, scientists began to understand the natures and chemicals in tobacco and the dangerous consequences smoking has on the human health. The purest form of nicotine was discovered in 1826. Months later, scientists concluded that nicotine was a dangerous poison, and yet knowing this, a man from Beijing, China, named Honk Link, still decided to create the first electronic cigarette in 2003. Interestingly, after first research was completed and a detailed quantitative analysis was conducted, Health New Zealand concluded that electronic cigarettes were a safe alternative to smoking. However, in 2009, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration discouraged the use of electronic cigarettes and repeated previously stated concerns that electronic cigarettes may be inappropriately marketed to youth, may lack appropriate health warnings, and contain carcinogens such as dilethylene glycide, an ingredient found in antifreeze. We now know this to be true because of the recent spike in teenage e-cigarette use. Within the past 5 years, there has been nearly a 50% increase in the number of youth using electronic cigarettes. U.S. General Surgeon Jermaine Adams says there is an epidemic in electronic cigarette use, with 78% more high school teens using electronic cigarettes over the year 2018. Tonight, I will be using words such as juul, soren, and vaping. Because these terms are relatively new in our culture and may be unfamiliar, I would like to define each of these for you now. Throughout my presentation, I will refer to electronic cigarettes as e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes are composed of a battery, a reservoir for holding a solution which typically contains nicotine, a heating element or atomizer, and a mouthpiece through which the user puffs. The device heats a liquid, often called juice or e-liquid, into an aerosol through which the user can inhale. Tobacco, however, cannot be used in electronic cigarettes. Many e-cigarettes are used to vape THC, the chemical responsible for most of marijuana's mind-altering effects, or even synthetic drugs like flocka. Electronic cigarettes will turn a liquid into vapor, through which the user can inhale. This is where we get the term vaping. The term is used because electronic cigarettes do not produce tobacco smoke as a result of a chemical reaction, but rather an aerosol, which is often mistaken for water vapor, which consists of fine particles. Vaping devices not only include e-cigarettes, but also vape pens, Sorens, Juuls, and advanced personalized vaporizers, also known as mods. Every Juul product contains a high dose of nicotine, with one pod or flavored cartridge containing the same amount of nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. Although vaping companies claim to provide a safe product with the intent to help adult smokers quit, they have actually done the exact opposite. Increase the number of youth e-cigarette users and traditional cigarette addicts. I assert that through clever and deliberate youth-targeted marketing, electronic cigarette companies have increased the number of youth who vape, increased the number of cigarette-dependent teens, and encouraged risky and deceitful behavior among youth. Tonight, I am trying to inform you so that you do not fall victim to the lies electronic cigarette companies are telling you and your children. So let's walk through the night I spent at my friend's house and see the key signs her mother failed to see. During my years in elementary school, my classmates and I would learn about the harmful effects of drugs, nicotine, and alcohol, and take pledges to never use drugs, drink alcohol, or smoke. During these pledges, we would laugh and joke around thinking our teachers were crazy for encouraging us to take these pledges. Fast forward a few years, and many of my friends have forgotten this lesson. While scrolling or clicking through social media, I can see my friends doing the things they said they would never do. But how did this happen? When companies like Soren and Juul hit the market in 2013 and 2017, they changed the world of smoking. With its small and clever device, they provided adult users a sleeker and simpler device to travel with. For minors, they created a device that would visibly deceive teachers, coaches, parents, and guardians. Many of these devices are small enough and can be disguised with their similar appearance to a remote control or flash drive. Referring back to the story at the beginning of my thesis, my friend Juul was laying on her bed. When asked what it was, she responded with, "It's a Bluetooth flash drive?" There was no computer on her bed at the time, therefore why would a flash drive be on her bed? Another sign that she was lying was the tone of her voice. She did not speak normally, the way she would normally communicate with her mother, but rather she hesitated for a while, and her voice was a bit cracky. These were just two key signs her mother failed to see. Companies are profiting off of a complicated age where challenging authority and trying new things is common teen behaviors. Electronic cigarette companies play a critical role in shaping the market, affecting everything from the development and innovation of new products to the brands, manufacturing, promotion, and pricing of a product. When e-cigarette companies first entered the US market, they were sold primarily by independent companies via the internet or in shopping mall kiosks where curious customers could sample the product. Since then, there's been a substantial growth in the number of new companies entering the market, creating more opportunity for them to reach a larger audience. But who is their target market? Juul and Soren promote their products as a tool to help adult smokers quit, but many of their e-cigarette marketing campaigns focus on one of three things: freedom, rebellion, and glamour, which are way more appealing to youth than adults. A key avenue for e-cigarette promotion is ads on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. All of these are frequently used by teens. On average, a teenager will spend up to 7 to 9 hours a day looking at a device or screen. 7 in 10 middle school and high school students are exposed to e-cigarette ads. Extensive marketing and advocacy through these channels broadens exposure to e-cigarette marketing messages. Such activity may encourage non-smokers, particularly youth or young adults, to perceive electronic cigarette use as a social normality. If they are marketing to adults, then why do their devices come in kid-friendly flavors? Vape flavors range from plain tobacco to sugary and sweet flavors. Notably, 81.5% of current teen e-cigarette users said they use e-cigarettes because they come in the flavor I like. The different flavors on the market today are catered to different preferences of vapers, from those who have an intense tobacco craving to those who have a sweet tooth. The different flavors on the market can fall into 4 main categories, which are tobacco-flavored e-liquids, single-flavored e-juices, high VG e-juices, and e-juices with multiple flavors. Tobacco-flavored e-liquids are intended to help ex-smokers remain ex-smokers. They provide the user a fix for their craving without the tar, carcinogens, and other harmful chemicals found in tobacco smoke, but they still get their fix of nicotine. Single-flavored e-juices, which is most popular among all the groups, but especially popular among teens. This type of juice can taste like anything from coffee to cotton candy, bubblegum to gummy bears. Adults can and may enjoy these flavors too, but the different names and types of these flavors are targeted marketing to youth who would most likely never smoke or vape if the attractive flavors were not offered. High VG has a thicker liquid, which produces more smoke. Fires and explosions are common when using this type of juice, which puts the user in great danger. You can see this type of juice being used all over social media when teens hotbox cars or blow O's. Additionally, despite having countless flavors on the market today, it is possible for someone to create their own juice. This appeals to the youth as well as gives them the ability to exhibit their independence and get creative. More than 7,700 unique vape flavors exist, and most of them are fruit or candy flavored, which companies have specifically marketed to youth. This is yet another sign my friend's mother failed to see, or should I say, smell. I've been in her room many times, and it either smells one of 2 ways, her normal room, or it has that fruit or candy smell to it. Because of the timing my friend's mother entered the room, the jewel was recently dropped on the bed. The cloud dissipated, but there was still a robust smell of fruit or candy in the air. This should have led her mother to start asking some questions. She didn't have an air freshener in her room. She didn't do her laundry that day. She's not eating in her room. So where did the smell come from? Instead of asking these important questions, she let her daughter's actions get away. So why are teens vaping? When you think of the loneliest people in our society, your mind may go straight to the elderly or the socially isolated. But those most susceptible to suffer from loneliness are youth. A psychologist at the University of Manchester found teens between the ages 16 through 21 are most likely to say they felt lonely. By contrast, only 1/3 of those over the age 75 will have the same result. One would think constantly being in contact with people online would make teens less lonely, but apparently not. Loneliness can be so agonizing that youth who do not have good coping skills may seek a quick remedy to soothe or numb the pain. Many teens may use vaping as a way to cope. Vaping may be used as a way to take the edge off. Youth-targeted marketing is so effective that teens will start to vape, spending up to $1,000 a year on new pods, packs, bottles of juices, and devices. Parents, could you imagine having another $1,000 in your pocket right now? That could pay for most of your child's school lunch at Trinity for the next year. For me, that could pay for most of my college books in my freshman year. By contrast, someone who smokes cigarettes daily will spend up to $2,500 a year. If electronic cigarettes are truly the gateway to cigarette use in the future, dual users will spend up to $3,500 on smoking devices. Parents, you could take your entire family on a vacation with that amount of money. Now, some may think there are favorable alternatives to smoking, like vaping. But actually, vaping has been shown to be a gateway behavior that may lead to smoking a cigarette or using other substances, specifically for new smokers. These devices have shown some success in helping adults cut back on their nicotine consumption, but unfortunately, these devices are a new and exciting product for teens to abuse. Although the number of cigarette-dependent teens has dropped in recent years, the number of smokeless tobacco users has steadily increased. The nicotine absorbed in smokeless tobacco products is absorbed at the same rate as smoking a cigarette, and the addiction is still very strong. Before the distribution of electronic cigarettes, there was a downward trend to the number of youth who smoke in America. With the distribution of electronic cigarettes, there's been a steep increase in the number of youth who smoke. Today, teens who have never tried a cigarette but vape are 3 to 4 times more likely to try their first cigarette. Instead of helping adults quit, the invention of the Soren and the Juul is used by teens as toys. With most flavored devices, there is a sweet smell. something like Rainbow Crunch, apple, Sour Patch Kids, and grapes, which is enticing to kids and deceptive to caretakers. Teens' brains are not fully developed. Teens can be manipulated by profit-hungry salespeople and sweet smells to try something that will become a lifelong addiction and a rebellious, sneaky vice to hide from authority. Vaping has been marketed as a safe alternative to smoking, but because these devices were only created in 2003, the long-term effect vaping has on the human health is still unclear. Even in a short lifespan, it has already been proven that daily use of electronic cigarettes is associated with doubling the odds of a heart attack. Santos A. Glatz, the director of the Tobacco Research, Control, and Education, states, electronic cigarettes are widely promoted as a smoking cessation aid. But actually, it makes it harder for people to quit. So most will end up so-called dual users, who end up smoking and vaping, says Glatz. The new study shows that the risk compounds. Someone who smokes daily while using electronic cigarettes daily has increased their risk of a heart attack by a factor of 5. Research on this product is only 6 years old, but even in these short 6 years, there's already evidence of frequent vapors having bronchitis, pulmonary inflations, and skin burns when the atomizer becomes overheated. Improving the lives of the 1 billion adult smokers by eliminating cigarettes. Doesn't it seem simple? Let's create another product that has nicotine in it, sell it to adults, and tell them. This will help them quit smoking. Instead of helping adults quit, the invention of the Soren and the Juul, these companies have created another successful product to double their customer base, building it in to include youth, along with adults who have become dual users. A study done by the European Respiratory Society concluded that 90% of people who start vaping with the intent to quit smoking continue vaping and smoking. Nearly 40 million US adults use tobacco products, including electronic cigarettes, and about 4.7 middle school and high school students use at least one tobacco product. Every day, more than 3,800 youth younger than the age of 18 will try their first cigarette. Therefore, these companies have not achieved their goal in helping adult smokers quit, but rather created another successful device to double their customer base, building it in to include youth. These companies are not trying to help addicted adults. These companies are trying to get kids addicted at a young age and make them lifelong users. And not only are these devices harming the body's internal organs, but also affecting teens' decision-making, leading them to do more risky and deceitful behaviors. Now that all of you in this room are educated about electronic cigarettes, I would like to personally encourage each of you to not fall victim to the lies electronic cigarette companies are promoting to you and your children. Some of you parents in the room may be listening to me and thinking, if my child were vaping, I'd be able to tell. If you are thinking that, look around the room. Don't all the teens, teachers, and adults seem perfectly innocent? What if I told you I knew for a fact there was a Juul in this very room? I promise you, someone here today is fooling us all. Now look back at me. For the past 20 minutes, I have been walking around the stage, turning my body in different directions and standing right in front of you. For most, your eyes have been set on me, and you can clearly see the microphones attached to my shirt. Now, within the next 30 seconds, I am planning to make my point clear. Not only are these devices a gateway to cigarette use in the future, but these devices are specifically manufactured to have a sleek and simple design that is deceiving to the uneducated eye. But don't worry, it's just a Bluetooth flash drive.